It's another episode of Paul's Life with Patrick. Today, I am so excited to report to you that I was finally able to see my HIV doctor, or not really doctor, because my provider is a nurse practitioner. So I was able to see my provider today. Super excited because of the fact that since this pandemic started in 2019, I have not seen a provider since then, not in person. The majority of my visits were virtual. So we would leverage Zoom or through my patient portal opportunities to engage in telemedicine, which is great. I think telemedicine is fantastic. It allows you to meet your provider in the comfort of your home or in a space where you feel safe. And then for my labs, I basically went to LabCorp. They would send an order to LabCorp and I would basically have my labs drawn there. So basically the only time me and my provider communicated was through messages or when we saw each other in person during visits, which were usually every 6 months. So I've been doing visits virtually for a while. And so it's really cool to actually see my provider in person because especially refreshing because I can actually feel that person's energy. I can actually see them, really engage them and make that determination if they will be my potential new provider. Because for me, the first visit with any provider I deal with, I consider it an interview. Why would I consider an interview with a provider? Well, before I even meet with the provider, I actually look at the provider. I do my research in terms of their background, if they've done any kind of academia or any academic journals or any research as it relates to things that I may be interested in potentially getting into. But then also I look at certain websites that measure their effectiveness. I mean, it's basically I look at like websites that are very similar to like Yelp that provide like doctor reviews. So like Health Grades is one, vitals.com is another one I like to use because I want to see what people are saying about the potential provider I'm going to be allowing to assist me in making medical decisions that may be good or bad to my health. So over the time since I've been diagnosed with HIV, 10 years now, I've always been very picky about my providers. To some extent, I was going to a provider, Whitman Walker in Washington, D.C. If you're from the D.C. area, you're familiar with that provider. And when I moved to Petersburg, Virginia, which is like 2 hours and some change away from D.C., I was still driving to Whitman Walker. When I was a flight attendant based in New York and even Detroit, I was literally getting on a plane to fly to DC to see my provider, my medical provider, and my dentist. Wild, right? But there's two things I don't like. I don't like messing with like providers that are funny acting or just not really patient-centered. And I don't like just anybody digging in my mouth, messing with my teeth. I'm very picky about that. And that goes back to when I had braces and retainers and all that other stuff. So I digress. Anyway, so basically, this is my thing. When you meet with your provider, that's you kind of measuring them up, making sure that they are meeting your need. Because the reality is that your insurance is either fully paid by your employer or your sugar daddy or your sugar mama, or you pay into that, or it's paid for by the taxpayer. So realistically, you do have weight and the determination on where you go to be seen and who you see. So it's really important that you look at your insurance, you look and see who's in network. Even if you go to like a HMO situation like Kaiser Permanente, where you can only go to Kaiser's facilities, you can still use Kaiser's internal searches because you can actually pull up providers, look at their education, look at their background, and then be nosy. Go on social media, go on Google and do some searches on your providers. Make sure they're not showing up in the news for being on, I don't know, To Catch a Predator or something. Got to do your research on your providers. It's like a job. Like if you're hiring somebody to come into your house and clean or do repairs, you're definitely going to look up the quality of their work. The same thing you should be doing with your providers. I do that. So today we sat down, I sat down with my nurse practitioner, and I always keep good records of my of my records, of my medical records and dental records. And so it was great being able to sit down and pull that out, show my provider, show her basically everything I had, and basically request new HIV meds. I'm taking Biktarvy. I did ask about the new injectable HIV medication, and that's Cabenuva. And basically there's a wait list for that injection drug because you have to get a prior authorization. And she asked me why I wanted to switch from Biktarvy to this injectable HIV treatment. And I told her, for me, I have a high pill burden. Like, I take a lot of pills. Give me a second, I want to show you. So these are the collections of my goodies, right? Not my goodies. So I take Celexa for kind of like depression and anxiety. I take Biktarvy once a day. I take acyclovir for my Malarious meningitis and HSV. I take, that's another acyclovir. I take a statin for cholesterol to keep that under control. And then I take like a prescription version of Singulair. So, and Lord, I got all my information up here. But anyway, these are my meds that I take. And so for me, if I could just get rid of one and only go in to get an injection, you know, every 30 days, that would be so much less of a burden of pills that I have to navigate on a daily basis. And so we talked through that. That was a cool conversation. I actually was very transparent with my provider because I always want to see how empathetic they are, how they are with their active listening skills. So I told her, my provider, about the passing of my sister and why it's important for me to, because of that passing, really take my health seriously, really make sure that I am healthy and good to go, because I want to make sure that I'm there for my family. But then I also want to make sure that I'm not dealing with anything underlying. And so basically, I explained to her that I've had some GI issues. I had some concerns about them. And we've talked through that. And basically, at the end of the day, she has some concerns about my GI tract. And so we're going to do a colonoscopy. And I kind of asked her, I was like, so why do you think I need a colonoscopy? Am I not too old? I mean, too young, excuse me. Am I not too young to get a colonoscopy? And what she explained to me was that there are definitely an increase in new diagnoses of cancers among people, especially colon or rectal related cancers, in folks under 40. And folks living with HIV, especially AIDS defined, like myself, are more a predisposition to have cancers. You know, I have 2 friends right now who are navigating cancer. And my colleague, my friends are under the age of 40, and they have both either had their cancer removed or going through chemotherapy. And so I'm so excited for my friend because he's going through his final treatment for cancer, and I look forward to kind of celebrating remission. But cancers are prevalent for people living with HIV. We know that's something that we have to monitor. And so the colonoscopy was ordered, and then we also did like an anal pap, and we just talked about some things that we could leverage just in case if the cancer screenings came back good, the colonoscopy looked good, if we should look at like irritable bowel syndrome or like Crohn's or even a gluten intolerance. So it's great that my provider heard me and really laid it all out on the line, because so many times, how often have you gone to a provider and you're like, my stomach hurts, I feel like this is really painful, and they go, yeah, that you should be fine, you're young, you're healthy, you're athletic, that you probably pulled something, and then they just kind of blow you off. How many times? And so for me, I really take notice of that, because if you give me that, I'm done. I cut you off. My health is too important for me to be dealing with a provider that's not going to take me seriously and take my concerns seriously. So we talked through that. We talked through, like I said, the injectables, which I've been put on a wait list. We talked about my cholesterol, being on Biktarvy, my cholesterol and I think my weight has gone up, as well as my cholesterol, and also my A1C. I have a family history of diabetes, and folks being pre-diabetic, high cholesterol, heart disease. So we talked through that, and I just wanted to make sure that, you know, it was on my provider's radar, because that's something that's important to me. So we talked through that and what our action plan would look like if we were to do that. And I did my STI screening. Look, I'll tell y'all, even though I'm married, I always get my STI screening done. I always make sure that I have it done. It's just good practice. That way, if something were to pop up abnormally, I could get it addressed sooner. I'd rather deal with getting 1 shot of bicillin rather than having 3 weeks of bicillin, because I was able to catch, you know, early syphilis, or I was able to catch something before it manifested into something worse. So yeah, so I think that's really important. I do those tests. But basically, the staff was super nice there at Hennepin Health. Super nice, super engaging. I love that their positive care clinic. It was amazing. Great customer service, kind folks, just really engaged in listening. Even the patient navigator came in and talked to me about their services, even though I don't qualify for Ryan White. But it was still cool to make that connection. But then I also talked to a nurse who kind of walked me through the colonoscopy process and really answered my questions about that, which is scheduled a couple months from now. So it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed being able to go there. And I think, y'all, if I can give you any advice, is please do your research in terms of your providers. Ask them questions, you know, engage your providers, challenge them, because all it takes is for you to have a provider, be with them for years, and you begin to have problems, or come to find out, all this time you thought they were screening you for something and they never tested it for you because they didn't think it was important, and you're dealing with cancer because you're, you know, at 35, because they were never checking labs relatable to cancer, or something that your family has a history of. They kind of blew it off because of perception, or, yeah. So that's all I'm saying. You know, you got to leverage your ability to advocate for yourself in these spaces, because at the end of the day, you don't, in most cases, even in HMOs where you're limited, or even if you have a limited choice of who you can go to be your medical primary care provider or specialist, you have a choice. You can take your money or your insurance elsewhere. I refuse to pay a copay to somebody who treats me like a number, that treats me like crap. I've dealt with that too many times in my life. So if you're not giving me what I want, we will stop the visit and I will go about my business, and I will not worry about that copay. I won't. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because this visit today was super exciting. It was great to be able to see my HIV provider, because I haven't seen one in person for such a long time. It feels like forever that we've been dealing with COVID. I think it's only been a year, but it's been about 2 now. So that was exciting. It was exciting to talk about injectable medication and being put on that wait list. But I'm super excited about the fact that I'm able to have a provider that hears me, that listens to me. I gave some complaints about some other things that she was able to address and refer me to additional services. And so that's been great. And y'all got it. 2022 is about taking care of us, being, seeing growth in our professional lives, but also seeing growth and prosperity in our own personal relationships with others, but our own personal relationships with ourselves. We have to prioritize ourselves. We have to love each other, but love ourselves. And also a part of that love and that self-care is taking care of yourself, getting your screenings. If you have family history of certain diseases, heart disease, high cholesterol, get screened. Diabetes, get screened. Take care of yourself. And so I digress. Said a lot, but I don't want to make this video a super long one. But if I can empower you to walk away with something today, I empower you to really take the necessary steps to really vet and screen the providers that are going to be taking care of you. Because at the end of the day, it's hard out here for folks of color, but it's even harder out here for queer folk of color. It's harder for us because at the end of the day, we're already dealing with so much trauma in our lives. And a lot of times, because of that trauma, we make exceptions and allow people to essentially make decisions for us when we should be at the table helping to make those decisions, listening to all the information so we can make the best informed decisions for us. So with that being said, I'll leave you at that. I just wanted to come through with a quick video update. I hope to be able to journal and talk with you more about my journey with injectable HIV treatment. Super excited about that. And I also want to give you updates as soon as any of my test results come back. I want to walk you through that and kind of give you my life, you know, as it relates to navigating the healthcare system. I will tell you now, I have already, after some of these results came in, look, I told y'all, I stay on top of them. I've already messaged in the system that we use to communicate with them. I have already sent messages about them obtaining my hospital records. So I sent a message about my hospital records, and then I also sent a message about some of my lab results, asking if that was normal, if I should be concerned about that. Yeah, like my CD4 cells, they're kind of been dropping, so I've asked a question about that. For me, that's what our providers are there for, to answer our questions and understand that we take our health seriously. So let's go into the new year really concerned about our health and challenging our providers to increase the quality of care that they give us every single time we walk through the office, or even times that we reach out for questions or support. Because your provider can be a provider that you have a long-lasting relationship. My relationships with my providers have in DC have spanned for 10 years. And I've gone out a couple of times to see other providers, but predominantly I go see them only. So I'm excited to have a new home, in my new home, where I can get my HIV and my primary care addressed. Other than that, nothing else going on. I appreciate y'all watching. Please remember to subscribe. Press the bell for notifications, because I'll be coming out with a lot more content. I have so much more to talk to you about as it relates to dealing with my parents. That's something that I really want to talk about. They're going to hate it, but hey, I feel like it's really important to talk about it, because my mom really brought up some important positions on that kind of drove an intergenerational discussion. I saw a lot of you reply to my poll that I put out, is to have y'all give feedback in terms of what you want to hear and talk about, or hear me talk about. So definitely feel free to know that I will be hopefully soon trying to bring my husband on to talk about our serodiscordant relationship, where I'm positive and he's negative, and how we maintain that. Hint, hint, a big portion of that is being undetectable. Undetectable means that HIV transmission does not take place. Undetectable equals untransmissible. It's real, it's proven and backed by science, but also something that my husband utilizes as well, PrEP. So I look forward to bringing him on and talking with him about that, because one, he's nervous, but I'm excited to bring him on and really engage him, because I think that it would be a beautiful thing for us to kind of share our experience with you as it relates to how we navigate our marriage, you know? So other than that, I saw some other things, but I look forward to engaging with y'all soon. Love you, love you, love you. As always, positivity is everything. Please, please remember again to subscribe, share these videos, and I really look forward to talking with y'all soon. I see another thing that folks want me to talk about is being a flight attendant, or even a disease intervention specialist while being positive. So I look forward to talk with y'all about that soon as well, because I think that would be cool to kind of engage you on. So yeah, and other things I've been up to. So I look forward to also responding to you all in your comments and really engaging with you more, because that's why I'm back. Love y'all, take care, and God bless, and be safe out there. Wash your hands, wear a mask, and watch your distance. Take care.